Good morning, sports fans. My name is Matthew Gorby, and I am back today with another episode of Matt Gorby's Sports Analysis. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about today, and it all starts with what happened last night and the other night between the Knicks and the Spurs. Something that I did not expect, and a lot of people did not expect, was that the Knicks are now up 2-0 over the San Antonio Spurs. Wow. What a first two games, though. I mean, both games were tightly contested throughout pretty much the whole game, especially in the fourth quarter. Game one, you saw Brunson kind of go off in the second half. He struggled early. But he ended up with 30 points. What a fun one. What a fun game that was. Dylan Harper came off the bench for the Spurs, the 20-year-old rookie. He was on fire. Didn't play late, though. A lot of fans were confused about that. De'Aaron Fox was in over him, who is the starter, but he was kind of struggling throughout the game, and he's kind of struggled throughout these playoffs a little bit. But Dylan Harper, man, love what I saw from him, but fortunately, wasn't enough. Spurs lost game one, 105-95. Just like I said, an incredible game. And I think even though the Knicks are up 2-0 and they're heading back to New York for the next two games, the ideal thing would, hey, let's just win these next two in New York. We'll be champs. It's not going to be that easy, I don't think. I think game three, of course, Madison Square Garden's going to be rocking, right? Everyone's going to be going crazy, especially being down 2-0. The Spurs are in a tough spot, but their series is not over because when you think it's over, it's over. And they should not think it's over yet because New York just went on the road and won 2 games. Why can't the Spurs do that? And I think they're very capable of doing it. Now, the Knicks right now are just playing unbelievably well. After last night, it marked, 13 straight playoff wins now for them, dating back to the first series against Atlanta, right? Because they won 3 straight, then they had 4, that's 7, then they had 4 more. 13 straight wins for the Knicks. Unbelievable. It's been a while since I've seen an NBA team click like this in the playoffs. We obviously saw the run the Pacers went on last year, but they lost games in that run. They lost a lot of games. We saw in 2017 that the Cavaliers, they were 12-1 by the time they got to the finals, and I believe the Warriors might have even been undefeated. Now I'm not sure. I think the only game Golden State lost in 2017 in the playoffs was against Cleveland in Game 4, but I'm not entirely sure. But man, these first 2 games of these NBA Finals have been spectacular. Just looking at some of the stats here, of course, San Antonio in Game 1, they were up at the half by 7 points. The Knicks went on in the third quarter, tied it after the third, and they ended up outscoring the Spurs by 10 in the fourth quarter of Game 1. But just a lot of balanced scoring you see from the Knicks. Maybe not as much in Game 1 as, let me turn this down. OG Anunoby, 17 points. He was 5 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Cat, who has just been unbelievable in this series. If it's not Brunson winning NBA Finals MVP when they win, it'll be Cat. He has been unbelievable on defense against Victor Wembanyama. He was 7 of 15 with 18 points in Game 1, so a solid performance. He also had 12 rebounds. Josh Hart, who only had 3 points in Game 1, he only took 5 shots, but he had 15 rebounds and 6 assists. Josh Hart is possibly just the glue of this team. It seems like every time the Knicks miss a shot, he's there to grab the rebound. He's an incredible player. I've never seen a player hustle as much as him. He's a lot of fun to watch. Bridges had 9 points. He was 3 of 6 from the field. Jalen Brunson was the star, though. He had 30 points. He only went 12 of 31 from the field because he struggled early, but he started to get it on late in the second half. He also went 2 of 9 from the field. On the bench, Mitchell Robinson had 2 points. Landry Shamet had 13 points. He was 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. He was even better last night. Landry Shamet, I swear he doesn't miss a shot. Especially against my Cavs. I mean, he literally went like 11 of 12 from 3. I mean, what is that? What are we doing? For the whole series, 11 of 12? Are you shitting me? But that's that. Miles McBride also 6 points. So that was all for the Knicks. Anyway, we'll go to the Spurs box score now from game 1. Julian Champagnie, 16 points. He was 5 of 10 from 3, 10 rebounds. He was definitely probably, I don't want to say the star of game 1 for the Spurs, but he was. I mean, he was the guy. He had 5 threes. He was clutch. He was hitting big shots. Champagnie, huge game for him. Victor Wembanyama, 26 points, 12 rebounds. You expect that, but he went 6 of 21 from the field. He had shot 13 free throws, hit 12 of them. Not an ideal night for Wemby in game 1. De'Aaron Fox, not ideal for him either. He went 3 of 13, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Devin Vassell, 9 points, 4 of 11 from the field. He also had 9 rebounds, though. And Stephon Castle, he had a solid night in game 1, 17 points, 8 rebounds. He went 7 of 16 from the field. Off the bench, it was the Dylan Harper show, like I said, 16 points, 6 of 10 from the field. He hit 1 3. He also had 8 rebounds. Harrison Barnes didn't have any points, but he had 2 rebounds and an assist. Keldon Johnson, 3 points. Carter Bryant, 1 point. So that's the box score for game 1. Like I said, another, just a great game. Obviously, it ended up being a 10-point Knicks win, but that's because, that happens at the end of games sometimes. Really, it was a tightly contested game throughout. So really fun one to watch. And yeah, I guess we'll move on to the box score for game 2, which last night was an even better game. What an unbelievable finish that was. Let's take a look here. Just recap, maybe if it would show me. There we go. Okay, let's talk box score game 2. So, Knicks win 105-104. Tightly contested game. A game where the Spurs had a great first quarter. They were up 34-25, but the Knicks stormed back in the second. They outscored the Spurs by 13 points. They outscored the Spurs in the third quarter by 5 points. And in the fourth quarter, the Spurs, though, made an incredible comeback. They were down by 14 at one point, fueled by Harper and Vassell and Wemby. They ended up tying the game up. And when the game was tied, the Spurs actually went ahead, 104-102. Brunson hit a mid-range shot. I believe it was a mid-range shot. Maybe it was a floater to tie the game. And then it was 104-104. I believe the Spurs missed the shot. And then the Knicks went down and missed a shot. But then, with about 10 seconds left, they had a timeout, but they did not want to call a timeout because they didn't want New York to set their defense. So instead, Wemby had the ball. He threw the ball up to Castle, who wasn't looking. It went off of his back. Brunson got it. Brunson was then fouled by Wemby. And then Brunson split a pair at the line. Spurs called a timeout. Fox and Wemby, a little pick and pop action from the mid-range. And Wemby got a good look, just couldn't hit it. Knicks win 105-104. Just an incredible finish. But man, that Spurs comeback was really incredible. I really wish they won that game last night because I also would have been right with my prediction. But now I am not, even though I did say the Spurs were going to win by 18 or 17 points, whatever I said. But anyway, let's talk about the box score. The Knicks last night, very efficient. I just realized Josh Hart, by the way, had 0 points. He was 0 for 4 from the field, but he's letting all the other guys shoot, which I respect. But, he didn't miss a shot against Cleveland, it seemed like. So he had 6 rebounds, though. He had 4 assists to go on top of that. But OG Anunoby, he had 17 points. He was 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Tack on 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, he was just phenomenal again on defense against Wembanyama. He was also great on offense, 21 points. He was 8 of 12 from the field. He also had 13 rebounds and 4 assists. Great game from Cat. Mikal Bridges, who looks like he played the most amount of minutes. He played 41 minutes for the Knicks last night. He scored 20 points. He was 8 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. 6 rebounds, 6 assists for him. A really solid night for Mikal Bridges. And Jalen Brunson, he also had 20 points. He was 7 of 25 from the field, so rough night shooting for Brunson. But he had 5 rebounds and 6 assists, and he also, he needed to hit, the shots he needed to hit, he hit them. So that happened for him. Off the bench, Mitchell Robinson, he had 7 points, 3 rebounds. Landry Shamet, 13 points, 3 of 7 from the field. 5 of 12 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. And Jose Alvarado, 2 points. He only got his 2 points from the line as he was 0 for 4 from the field. Miles McBride, 5 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. So that was the Knicks. For the Spurs, Julian Champagnie, not as good of a night, but he didn't really take too many shots. He was only 2 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, ended up with 8 points, 4 rebounds. Victor Wembanyama, a lot better offensively last night for sure. He had 29 points, 11 of 21 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. He also had 9 rebounds, 2 assists. De'Aaron Fox, a lot better of a night for him as well. 20 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. He tacked on 5 assists as well. Devin Vassell, 14 points, 4 of 9 from the field, 9 rebounds, 5 assists for him. Not a bad night for him. Stephon Castle, 14 points, 5 of 14 from the field, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Oh my God, I read that as Dylan Harper had 32 points last night. I was like, that is not right, because I was looking at the minutes played, not the points for some reason. Dylan Harper, 15 points last night. 6 of 12 in the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Another solid night for him off the bench. Other than that, though, they didn't get much from the bench. They got 3 points from Keldon Johnson, 1 point from Luke Cornett. Harrison Barnes and Carter Bryant both scored 0 points. They only played 8 combined minutes, though, so kind of makes sense. But anyway, that was Game 2. Game 3 will be on Monday night. In Madison Square Garden, New York City. Very, very excited for it. I'm hoping the Spurs can win. And, make this somewhat of a series. I don't want to see the Knicks sweep the Spurs, especially with how good the first 2 games were. I think the Spurs still have a lot to prove in this series. And I think they're going to win Game 3. But Spurs fans probably don't want to hear me say that with some of the recent predictions I've made. For example, before Game 3 of the Cavs-Knicks series, the Cavs were back at home. My delusional ass thought that they were going to go in and win the next 2 at home, but they did not. They did nothing close to that. So, and I even said, I think the Cavs win tonight, and I think they win convincingly, and I was absolutely wrong with that prediction. But yeah, can't wait for Game 3. Can't wait for the rest of the series. I hope we see some more games like we've seen so far, because it's been a lot of fun. And I'd love to see Wemby go into Madison Square Garden and take care of business. But we'll see what happens. Still a lot of basketball to be played. Still a long series to be played. So can't wait for it. But anyway, at the end of the game last night, when Wemby did turn that over and they didn't choose to call a timeout, I get it. I get not calling a timeout. You don't want their defense to set. But with a young team like that, I know you're maybe not thinking about this in the moment, but with a young team like that, I would have probably called it. Now, it's easy for me to say because, I'm not an NBA coach and I wasn't coaching the game and I wasn't, I was watching the game. And, if the Spurs went down and didn't turn the ball over and hit a shot to win the game, nobody would be talking about this. So now we're talking about it. But yeah, timeout probably would have been the right move. Get your young players in the huddle, draw up a play for your young players, make sure everyone's doing the right thing. I get you don't want to get, you don't want their defense to get set, but hey, your offense sometimes is a little sloppy when you try to, go on a fast break when there's 10 seconds left. Everyone's, there's chaos. Call a timeout, draw up a play, go to the huddle, take a breath. Everything's going to be all right. When everything just happens so quick like that, usually it just, doesn't work out. But it didn't work out for the Spurs. But really, Wembanyama, the turnover he had late, was very costly. He even admitted it. The game was on him, even though he played great for the most part. 29 points, 9 rebounds. I mean, he played great. Can't deny that. But Karl Anthony Towns has definitely had the upper hand as far as big man in this series so far. He's had the upper hand. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Shout out Karl Anthony Towns. He had a really emotional interview last night on Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt, talking about his mother and how she passed away a few years ago, and how she meant so much to him. So good for Cat. Great for Cat. He's definitely a fun player to watch. One of the best big men in the league, and he deserves it, man. If the Knicks can win these finals, he definitely deserves it. And so does that whole Knicks team. And this whole Knicks team, I don't know. I've never seen a team be more bonded and have more chemistry, and just it's unbelievable. Now, we've seen a lot of good basketball teams, especially I have, in the past 10 years. Of course, we're never going to forget the Golden State Warriors teams, and some of the super teams, I guess you can call them, Miami Heat with LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and the Cavaliers with Irving, James, and Love. The Nets with Harden, Durant, and Irving, even though they only played a total of 16 out of a total of 113 games together. And they really didn't do shit other than make it to the second round. So I don't even know why I brought them up. But out of previous champions in the NBA, this New York Knicks team is really good. And I think people sometimes get blinded by nostalgia. They say that, this Knicks team wouldn't beat this team and whatever. They probably would, because the game is more modern. This Knicks team's great. They're great. I mean, they have the best starting five in basketball. Their bench is solid as well. They can shoot. Their whole starting five can play defense, other than Brunson. I mean, they're just really fun to watch. If they win the finals, then they will definitely be worthy of it. That's for sure. But yeah, that's really all I have for the first two finals games. I think the Spurs need to play Dylan Harper a little bit more. I know he played 32 minutes last night off the bench, which is already a lot, but I guess Fox only played 34 minutes. Maybe it's all right. Maybe he played a decent amount, but he definitely needs to play more late, which I think he did last night, but now I'm not sure. Yes, he was in late. Or maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. But that was the whole big thing of game one. He was doing so good in the first half throughout the game. And then the fourth quarter, it was De'Aaron Fox in instead of him, which I'm fine with. De'Aaron Fox is the veteran. You'd probably rather have a veteran in that situation. And not to mention, he's also just a great point guard. But I sort of agree with it. But, Dylan Harper needs to be in the game with how good he was playing and how talented he is. He needs to be in the game. And that's pretty much all I have for the NBA Finals Game 1 and 2 recap. I want to talk some other things, though. I want to talk about something that I did. I wanted to clarify this really quick. I actually wish I did this before I even said anything. If you didn't see the comments of the last episode that I put, or if you didn't see my Snapchat story, I apologize very greatly. It was not Alex Highsmith that got extended. It was Nick Herbig of the Steelers. Alex Highsmith actually got extended last season, which I actually knew about, and I just didn't really think about it. But it was not Alex Highsmith, so I apologize to all my Steelers fans and everybody that I gave false information to. So I apologize for that. But anyway, and we talked about the college football cover in episode 1, but I didn't talk about the Madden cover, which was released, and that has Caleb Williams on it, which I don't know how to feel about. I like Caleb Williams, and I think he's definitely worthy, but I think there was so many other great options. There's one option in particular that I really think they could have, one direction they could have went in, and that would have been Jackson Smith and Jigba. Of course, I'm biased, right? Ohio State guy, he's a Buckeye. But no, I think a lot of people agree with me. He was the Offensive Player of the Year last year. He also just won the Super Bowl. The cover should have been him in the end zone, dunking on the goalpost. That would have been fire. But instead, it's Caleb Williams doing some Iceman shit, which is fine. I like Caleb Williams. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to have a great season. But come on, EA. What are we doing? JSN should be on the cover. He just won Offensive Player of the Year. What did Caleb Williams do? He went to the playoffs. He won one playoff game. All right, that's good. But what are we doing? Let's put JSN on the cover, boys. But anyway, the Mets won last night 5-0, which is great news for them. We got some big series in baseball. We got the Red Sox and Yankees this weekend, which the Red Sox beat the Yankees last night 5-3. Let me see. Let me look up some of the stats for this game. Looks like Sonny Gray started for the Red Sox. Had a solid start. Pitched 6 1/3 innings. Gave up 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks. Only had 3 strikeouts. But he pitched a 6 1/3. So pretty solid from him. Looks like the bullpen came in and did their job as well. Between 3 of them, 0 earned runs. Looks like Wilson Contreras hit a home run last night. Actually, it might have been a 3-run homer because he had 2 hits, so I'm not sure. He had 3 RBIs. Monastero had 1 home run. It looks like Abreu, he went 1 for 4. Jarren Duran went 1 for 4. Connor Wong went 1 for 3. Solid night for the Red Sox lineup. Not really though. I mean, the Yankees actually had more hits. For the Yankees, it looks like Ben Rice came in and hit a home run. Not came in, he started. He was DH. He hit a home run though. Other than that, Spencer Jones had an RBI. The Yankees really didn't do much. Also, Trent Grisham had an RBI. Looks like he homered as well. But the Red Sox and Yankees, man, that's the best rivalry in baseball. I have to admit. Even though I hate the Yankees, of course, go Mets. That's the best rivalry in baseball. It's one of the best rivalries in sports. It's one of the things that makes baseball great, makes sports great, are rivalries. So we'll see what happens in the rest of that series as the Red Sox and Yankees play at 7:35 tonight, and they play at 1:35 tomorrow. Let's look at some of the rest of the MLB. Oh, yeah, we also have the Freeway Series, which I did read about. The Angels and the Dodgers, which the Dodgers won last night, and I believe Freddie Freeman had a walk-off home run. He did. Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off home run. It was a 1-0 final. 1 run in the bottom of the ninth. 3 hits between... Who was pitching last night? Okay, Sasaki pitched for the Dodgers. He pitched 7 innings, only gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. Wow, this Dodgers team's unbelievable. The Angels, looks like Reed Detmers pitched for the Angels. He also had a really solid night. Of course, 6 innings pitched, only gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Really good night for him, man. What a pitcher's duel that was last night. So big win for the Dodgers in the Freeway Series. They move up to 41-23. Let's look at some of the rest of the games for today. Mariners or Tigers. That should be fun. I wish it told me who the starting pitchers were. That's not cool. Let's see if I go down to the website. Wow, by the way, the Giants beat the Cubs last night, 18-3. Yeah, let's recap some of the scores from yesterday from the MLB. Let's do it. So, yeah, Giants beat the Cubs 18-3. That was a blowout. Mariners at Tigers. Detroit won 7-3. Valdez was on the mound for that game. Phillies beat the White Sox 8-6 in a high-scoring game. Red Sox beat the Yankees 5-3. Orioles beat the Blue Jays 13-3, another blowout there. Tampa Bay beat Miami 6-0 in a Florida showdown. Pittsburgh lost to Atlanta 6-3. Atlanta's just on an absolute tear this season. Houston beat Oakland 5-1. St. Louis beat Cincinnati 10-3. Texas beat Cleveland 3-2. Minnesota beat Kansas City 5-3. Ooh, another high-scoring game. Milwaukee beat Colorado 9-7. Washington beats Arizona 14-1. The New York Mets beat the San Diego Padres 5-0. And the Angels lose to the Dodgers 1-2. 1-0. And all of those teams play again today, as it is now Saturday. So we continue with the weekend series. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, here we go. Here's this guy. Oh, here we go. We got the matchups and everything. Nice. See if there's anyone big pitching tonight. Okay, McLean's pitching for the Mets. Can't wait for that. He's kind of been just struggling a little bit lately. But he's still Nolan McLean, so he's good. That's against Griffin Canning. That should be a good matchup. Yamamoto's going for the Dodgers tonight. Mizorowski's going for Milwaukee. Shane McClanahan's going for Tampa Bay. Some big names here today. Kyle Bradish for the I guess does he play for the Orioles or the Blue Jays? I honestly don't fucking know. Tomorrow though, Sunday, looks like we got some big names. Sandy Alcantara for the Marlins. He needs to get traded. He's wasting his career in Miami. Aaron Nola's going for the Phillies. Jacob deGrom's pitching tomorrow for the Texas Rangers. That's awesome. Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. Mike Soroka for the Diamondbacks. Jameson Taillon for the Cubs. Interesting. Well, that is the MLB for you. Let's take a look at the standings as of now, even though we just talked about them 2 days ago, so they haven't changed much. Nothing's really changed. Rays and Yankees still atop the AL East. Looks like the Orioles 31-33. They've won 2 straight. They're still in third place in the AL East. Blue Jays lost one last night. They're 30-34. Red Sox beat the Yankees, so they are now 11 games back of first place. They're still in last. The AL Central, Cleveland Guardians still atop the AL Central, even though they've lost 2 straight games now. They're 36-29. The White Sox lost yesterday. They're 33-30. The Minnesota Twins 30-35. How about the Tigers? They have now won 4 straight. They're 26-38. This was the team that was, a major disappointment this season. They've just played awful on the road to start this year. But they've won 4 straight, so good for them. Kansas City's behind them by a game at 25-39. AL West, Seattle, they have lost 2 straight now. They're now 33-31, but they're still first in that division. Looks like they're 8-2 in their last 10, so looks like they're still doing all right. Texas Rangers, they're second in that division. They're 31-32. They've also been playing well lately, 7-3 in their last 10. The A's in third at 30-33. They are 3-7 in their last 10, so they've been struggling. Astros behind them at 29-36, and the Angels 24-40 in last place. Moving on to the National League, the Atlanta Braves are 43-21. They got back on the win column last night. That's where they've been for most of the season. 7-3 in their last 10. The Phillies are playing very well all of a sudden. Again, they've won 4 straight. They're 34-29. They're second place in the NL East. They're 8-2 in their last 10, so they've been playing really well. The Nationals still deadlocked at 500. They were 31-31 the last time we recorded. Now they're 32-32. They won yesterday. The Marlins lost yesterday. They're 29-35. Right behind them are the Mets, who are 28-35. They've now won 2 straight. They're 6-4 in their last 10. And hey, look at that. 5.5 back of the wild card now. I think we were just like 8 games back, I feel like. So now we're up to 5.5, so that's good. But anyway, the NL Central, Milwaukee, they're still doing good. 38-23. They won yesterday. 7-3 in their last 10. The Cardinals, 33-28. They're second place in that division. They are 5 games back. And they are 4-6 in their last 10. The Pirates are in third place. They lost yesterday, but they're a half game back of St. Louis. They're 5.5 back of first place. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates, man? Great season for them so far. The Cubs 33-31. They lost yesterday. And the Reds are 31-31 as they've lost 2 straight now. Still, that division playing really well, playing really good baseball. And last but not least, the National League West is featuring the best team in baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers, 41-23, 7-3 in their last 10. They won yesterday in a walk-off home run, like we said. Freddie Freeman against the Angels. Their run differential is probably the best in baseball. It has to be 134 plus 134 is unbelievable. Wow. Second is the Braves. They're plus 112. But just to look, I mean, Arizona, who's 33-30, so they're over 500. Their run differential, though, is -9, and they're in second place in the division, which is just kind of unbelievable. The Mets, for example, who are in the NL East, of course, who are in last place in the NL East, their run differential is only -8. So the Diamondbacks, who are in second in the NL West, have a worse run differential than the Mets, which is kind of odd. But that's just how shit goes sometimes. The Diamondbacks, like I said, 33-30. The Padres, who have been really struggling recently, they've now lost 6 straight. They just lost to the Mets in the first game of that series. They're 32-30. They are 1-9 in their last 10. So they are struggling. They need to get it back on. They play the Mets again today. We see the Giants in fourth place. They're 26-38. They are 15 games back of the Dodgers. Oh, my God. The Rockies, not so much, not any better. They are 24-40. They're in last place. They're 17 back of the Dodgers. They've lost 2 straight. But, hey, the Giants, they've won 3 straight, so good for them. Let's see if the Giants can maybe make a little run here. But, yeah, that's a little bit of an MLB standings update, so we are good on that. Also in the NFL, we just got news that from Lions head coach Dan Campbell said that running back Jahmyr Gibbs will be the bell cow for the Lions offense this season because there's no David Montgomery. He got traded to the Texans, so it's kind of just Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't remember if the Lions signed another guy or if they drafted a running back. Let me look. Oh, yeah. Okay, so they got Isaiah Pacheco. That's right. That is a good signing. That's a good signing. So it looks like, though, that Dan Campbell just said that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get majority of the carries. He's going to be the guy on offense, which he should. He's in his prime right now, or he's at least entering his prime, and he is just an elite dual threat offensive weapon. I mean, he's the guy that, he's dynamic, he's explosive, he's fast, and, he could really be that guy for the Lions if he wanted to. I want to look up his stats for the first few seasons of his career because I know he's been great, but he's also shared, a running back room his whole career. So his rookie year, 2023, 945 yards, 10 touchdowns, 52 receptions. It doesn't say how many. Okay, let me just go to ESPN. I want to see how many receiving yards he has. Okay, here we go. So, okay, this is from last season, 2025. Jahmyr Gibbs rushing 243 carries, 1,223 yards, 13 touchdowns. Receiving wise, 77 catches, 616 yards, 5 touchdowns. Wow, he was just unbelievable last year. Let's see if can I see 2024? Yes. 2020, and that was, okay, yeah, he played all 17 games last season. 2024, he also played all 17 games, 250 carries, so he had 7 more carries in 2024. He had 1,412 yards, so he had about 150 more yards in 2024. He had 16 touchdowns, and receiving-wise, he had 52 catches, 517 yards, 4 touchdowns. So I'd say rushing-wise, he was definitely better in 2024. Literally every single stat in 2024 rushing-wise is better than 2025. 2023, his rookie year, also a solid year. He had only 182 carries, but he had 945 yards, 10 touchdowns. He had 52 catches as well his rookie year, and he had 316 yards and 1 touchdown receiving. So I'm looking forward, hopefully he stays healthy. A lot of times when that running back takes that role where, hey, they were splitting carries with somebody, but now they're going to be the guy, sometimes, injury concerns kind of rise when a running back is going to get that many touches. But hopefully Gibbs can stay healthy because he's an exceptional player and he's going to be the focal point of that Lions offense, him and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I expect the Lions to make the playoffs this year. They missed the playoffs last year. They had a lot of injuries last year. It just seems like they were never healthy. And they just missed the playoffs. So I expect the Lions, if they can stay healthy this year, to get back into the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But anyway, I want to shift gears a little bit because we kind of already talked last podcast about the trades that happened. Of course, Myles Garrett to the Rams. We talked Alex Highsmith getting extended for the Steelers, but instead it was actually Nick Herbig. Once again, I apologize for that. And what else did we talk about the NFL? What else happened? Oh, yeah, OBJ went to the Giants, A.J. Brown to the Patriots. So there's some of that. We also talked about the cover. But I want to talk a little bit about college football now. We got some news that the SEC will be replacing their cupcake November games in November. So if you're not familiar, the SEC in college football for the last several years, in November, like a random week in November, they all basically have a bye week because they'll play teams like the Citadel or teams that you never heard of, and it's really frustrating to watch because in November in college football, that's supposed to be, the stretch of your season that's the hardest, it's when your team sometimes banged up a little bit, you get all these other conferences playing conference games against, rivalry teams and stuff like that. Then you got the SEC and some random weekend in November playing the Citadel and teams like that. And to me, it's just a joke. For one, the SEC, SEC fans always have claimed that they've been the best conference in college football, which I agree with. I still think the SEC is probably better than the Big Ten overall. I'd say the SEC has more depth. I'd say the Big Ten is more top-heavy for sure. But I'd say the SEC overall is still probably the better conference, even though the Big Ten has won the last 3 national championships. But the SEC before that won how many? Like I said, I still think they're a great conference, but I think this is an incredible rule change. They should not be playing those teams in November at all. It's just so unfair to some of the other top teams in the country when they are playing, whether it's, even if it's a bad team in your conference, you're still playing a conference team, but no, these guys would play, those small teams, beat up on those small teams. They'd have the ability to rest a lot of their starters at times, so yeah, kind of just frustrating to watch the SEC, complain about how big and bad they are, yet they need a cupcake game in the middle of November so their teams can, rest a little bit, which I think is just bullshit. So if you're an SEC fan and you disagree with me, then you are, you need to open your eyes a little bit, play some tougher games. But I get it. Oh, you guys are always playing ranked games. Oh, yeah, I get it. But if you're so big and bad, then you don't need that rest week, basically. We'll call it a rest week. So I'm glad that got changed. Also, though, there's a huge thing happening in college football right now. It has to do with the bipartisan bill, which is so it's basically there's a massive political storm brewing over college football right now. It had to do with certain U.S. senators, including Ted Cruz, at a new bill that's aimed to protect college sports. And Ted Cruz called it the last hope for college sports to save the NCAA. So basically the bill wants to pool media rights and put stricter federal regulations on player movement, eligibility, and NIL, which I am for. I definitely think there's a lot of things that surround the transfer portal and NIL that I would probably do differently. And there's a ton of backlash already to this bill. The SEC is very pissed about this. There is speculation that if the federal government gets involved, that it could trigger a breakaway for the SEC from the NCAA, which would be not good, which would not be good at all. I really don't know how that would work, but that's that. And basically, if the bill passes, college football would start to look like the NFL. There would be a federally protected rule book for contracts and rosters and transfers, and parity would probably improve because, the richest schools couldn't endlessly just get players from the portal or recruits. So it would probably even out a little bit, which as an Ohio State fan, I honestly don't like that because, we're usually one of the best teams in college football, and I don't want us to get worse at all. So I don't know about that. But the other outcome would be if the bill fails, which would be very catastrophic. This would be, and not just the SEC, by the way, the Big Ten has also announced frustrations and I don't know why I said announced, expressed frustrations with the bill's restrictions and that. Yeah, I mean, the SEC commissioner, I'm just reading right now, Greg Sankey and Big Ten leaders have heavily leveraged the threat of a breakaway. Georgia coach Kirby Smart even stated he is not afraid to break away and form an independent super league. The top 30 to 40 powerhouse programs would completely sever ties with the NCAA. It would lead to the death of the NCAA. Without Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, and Michigan, the NCAA loses almost all of its media value. The NCAA, as we know it, would collapse into a governing body strictly for lower tier and Division II/III schools. And wow. So if this bill fails, the SEC and the Big Ten, they're going to make their own league, pretty much. They're going to create a semi-pro super league. And they're just going to leave everybody else in the dust. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm sure, you hear it right now and you're like, no, absolutely not. Now, if it happened, do I think it would be the worst thing? No. I think it would be great. You'd see a lot more competitive games, that's for sure, which is really true. It does suck a lot of times, and especially being as an Ohio State fan. As much as I like to see my team play well and blow teams out, I love to see close games. I love to see Ohio State in close games, even though it's very stressful. There's almost nothing more stressful than watching a really good team play college football every single week because, if you lose, then everyone clowns you for it, and that's what happens when you're a really good team. And so yeah, it's kind of stressful, but so if that happens and there's, a super league, Ohio State's going to be playing a good team pretty much every week. So, you got to play your best ball every week. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think it'd be interesting, but at the end of the day, I like my traditional things. I wouldn't want this to happen. I think everything should just stay the way it is. I definitely think they should regulate the transfer portal a little more. I think they should have a little bit stricter, measures on NIL. But who knows? I mean, the NIL has been great as far as competitiveness in college football. I mean, we just saw the Indiana Hoosiers win the college football national championship. How does that happen? I get Kurt Ignitti's a great coach. But a lot of the guys they brought in were, 23, 24 years old, and a lot of them were playing, a lot of the time they were playing these big schools in the playoffs. For example, Ohio, well, they didn't play Ohio State in the playoffs, but they played them in the Big Ten Championship, and Oregon and Alabama. A lot of those guys were high recruits out of high school, and they weren't transfers. So a lot of those guys are 19 and 20 years old playing 23 and 24-year-olds. And that's a huge difference, by the way. I saw a picture yesterday of Will Anderson Jr. when he was like 18 or 19 years old, or I guess maybe he was a freshman in college. And he looked, first of all, it didn't even look like Will Anderson. It was Will Anderson, but it didn't even look like him. You couldn't even recognize him. He was small. You look at him now, I understand he's in the NFL now. He's getting that NFL training. He played at Alabama, and that's basically NFL training. So he's obviously going to look bigger. But, I mean, the guy looks like a completely different person. He looks like a damn giant compared to the Will Anderson that came to Alabama his freshman year. So there's a huge difference between a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old playing college football. It's huge, and I think that's the big reason why Indiana won the national championship. It didn't have as much – it definitely had to do with Kurt Ignitti, don't get me wrong, and Fernando Mendoza. But a lot of it had to do with the age of their players. A lot of them are old. And I think that's, a big reason why they beat Ohio State. I hate to make excuses. They beat us fair and square. There's nothing else to say. They beat us fair and square. But at the end of the day, Ohio State put a lot of 19 and 20-year-olds out there. Indiana put a lot of 23 and 24-year-olds out there. But Indiana, they won the national championship, so good for them. Just a great season, really. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be great in the NFL. A lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people aren't huge on him, and I get it, right? How could you? You only saw really 1 year of him at Indiana, and he was also, old at Indiana. What was he? How old was Mendoza? How old is Mendoza? Is he 23? 22, 23? He's 22. Okay, that's pretty normal. I respect that. Birth date, October 1st, 2003. So yeah, he's 22. I guess he's not as old as I thought he was. So that's solid. But yeah, we only saw 1 year of him at Indiana, so I get it. And plus, he was a small name guy, a year ago today. So I definitely get it. I definitely get it being nervous about him. But the first game that Indiana played where I was like, okay, this Mendoza guy I think is legit, was against Oregon when they went into Eugene and beat them on the road 30-20. Mendoza actually threw a pick six that game, and he came right back and he let his team down for a touchdown, I'm pretty sure. That game, though, he made some throws that were just NFL-ready throws. I remember he threw like a back shoulder ball on the sideline to Elijah Surratt. And it was an NFL-level throw. It was an NFL-level throw. And I was like, okay, this guy's big. He's 6'5". He can move. He's got a big arm. He seems like a good leader. He seems like he's a smart guy. He probably knows how to read a defense pretty well. I think Fernando Mendoza's got everything he needs to be a successful quarterback in this league. And I think he will be. Which sucks because he's a Raider. And, obviously as a Broncos fan, I want him, I want him to struggle a little bit. I don't want to see the Raiders do good, but I do like Fernando Mendoza a lot, so I'm definitely rooting for him. But the Raiders team as a whole, they can F off. But that's pretty much everything that I have to talk about today. I think, if I'm missing something, I bet 5 minutes after this, there'll be something that I think of that, oh, shit, I didn't say it. Well, I'll just have to say it in episode 3. But anyway, so I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your Saturday to listen to this, or whatever day you're listening to this on. It's been a lot of fun. Can't wait for the rest of the NBA Finals. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys. And this was Matt, Gorby Sports Analysis. I appreciate you guys for listening, and everybody stay cool.